to force an effective, successful president out of office at this time seems to be a very dangerous undertaking for the health of the institution. I'm Ann Brown. I am the co-chair of Wahoos4UVA. I'm an alumnus from the class of 1974 in the college and the law school 1977.
Could you tell me more about the origin of Wahoos4UVA and the things in particular that led to its creation?
Yes, in early May, some external communications, particularly some ads run in local newspapers attacking President Jim Ryan, were published, and there seemed to be a ratcheting up of pressure on the university as a whole and on the administration and Jim Ryan's presidency in particular.
A leading voice in the call for Jim Ryan's resignation was the Jefferson Council, a group of conservative alumni who have lobbied against the university's implementation of DEI. The council went as far as to take out full-page ads calling for Jim Ryan's removal, claiming he was subverting the anti-DEI agenda, which had become central to Trump's second term.
To vigorously enforce yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, I will eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government.
You should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. And our country will be woke no longer.
The Jefferson Council also claimed that President Ryan ignored UVA's health system scandal, mishandled the investigation of a gun violation in relation to the 2022 shooting, enabled anti-Semitism on grounds, and instituted a political agenda under the guise of DEI.
Do you think that this criticism is valid?
No. Our perception is that President Ryan navigated a lot of tough moments, including the tragic death of 3 of our students, with grace, with care, with sympathy, and a pulling together of the university community around those challenges. And I don't think there's an acknowledgement or recognition of the degree to which there is misinformation throughout those allegations, and in fact, a failure to acknowledge the accomplishments, the strength of the last 7 years at UVA. We just raised $6 billion. All of our rankings rose. The competitiveness of our applicant pool increased year after year. Our faculty have been recognized for extraordinary accomplishments. Our hospital is highly regarded. Tremendous research is done there in all kinds of diseases. You simply can't talk about UVA and ignore all of the extraordinary positives that characterize this place and are in fact the main story.
Not everyone shares this view, including Harmeet Dillon, a former UVA law classmate of Jim Ryan, who was an outspoken critic of his presidency.
And she is now the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the DOJ, and her office is contending that they're simply enforcing the Equal Protection Clause under the 14th Amendment. How do you react to that?
I react in several ways. For one thing, there is no definition of DEI. None of the demand letters, none of the saber rattling happening in any part of our federal or state government over DEI has a definition. Nonetheless, in the spring, in March, our Board of Visitors passed a resolution calling for dismantling, I'm going to use that word broadly, and charged our president, Jim Ryan, with proceeding to do that and asking him to bring a report back to the Board of Visitors. He did that, and there were subsequent reports. One of the real questions in this moment is, was any of that work and reporting ever even given to the Department of Justice? We don't know.
Despite the Board of Visitors' vote to dismantle DEI, pressure on Jim Ryan did not cease as the Trump administration seeked to eradicate any vestiges of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
When you're under pressure, there's a tendency to obey in advance, as Timothy Snyder likes to say about fascism. Obeying in advance is very destructive.
Thursday night, UVA President James Ryan sent a letter to the university's board announcing his resignation. He had originally been planning to step down at the end of next school year. Now he'll be leaving before August 15th. Ryan saying in a statement, "I would at a very practical level be fighting to keep my job for one more year while knowingly and willingly sacrificing others in this community."
If Jim Ryan felt compelled to resign or was forced to resign with the promise that the Department of Justice would go away and leave UVA alone and leave our federal funding alone, why hasn't that happened?
Why do you think they were motivated to have Jim Ryan removed?
I don't know. I can't speak for them. Personally, my motivation and the motivation of Wahoos4UVA is to tell the true story of UVA. One of our great concerns, frankly, is that there's way too much that we do not know about what's happened to the university in the course of the spring and summer.
Can you explain a bit more about what the Board of Visitors is doing with the Department of Justice right now and why the Faculty Senate and the Student Council and other major organizations feel so unconfident in what they're doing?
We don't know. I wish I could answer that question. I wish there were transparency. Our Board of Visitors owes all the stakeholders of the university much greater transparency than has been forthcoming, but we don't know. That is the essence of lacking confidence in a process and in the people who are leading that process. Senator Deeds, who is the state senator for this region, including Charlottesville and Albemarle County, wrote the Board of Visitors a letter August 1st. It had 46 questions. 46 questions. They've answered virtually none of them.
We have to know what happened. We have to know why it happened in order to go forward. If we don't understand what the problems were, if we don't understand how that resignation occurred, what those circumstances were, history could repeat itself.
Those who work in searches know that talented, effective leaders are really leery of throwing their lot in with an institution that is in the degree of turmoil that ours is. A president who comes here without sufficient buy-in from the community, people who believe that president is really well suited to bring the community together and take it forward, is almost destined to fail. You've got to have the confidence of all your stakeholders, and that's a serious risk.
What does success look like for Wahoos4UVA, and do you see a realistic end to this controversy?
There's some specific incremental steps that would help everyone get confident that the university was not careening down a very destructive path. One of the first of those things would be to just slow down this presidential search. Let's breathe. Let's take a moment and let the university heal from the trauma of June, and think about what is a productive way forward.
Obviously, part of that is the student body, the future students, the most recent graduates from the university. We've attended a couple of the protests at UVA early on in this semester, the Hands Off protest, the We Are UVA protest. In both instances, we noticed a much smaller proportion of those being students and a greater degree of faculty and alumni attending those protests. Has Wahoos4UVA struggled at all to cultivate the kind of student support it would like to see on grounds?
We haven't specifically focused on students. We have a number of younger alumni on our advisory council, and I think there is an interest on the part of students too, student leadership. Again, this is a student self-governance moment. Students should lead students, not an organization that is predominantly alumni. It's the job of the students themselves to decide where they want to be in this moment, what they want, how they want their voices heard.
Clearly, some students are making their voices heard as they joined alumni and faculty at the Board of Visitors public session.
Every single one of us wants a seat in there. A seat in there to listen, not to stand up and complain and make a ruckus, but to listen and to understand what's happening.
The relationship between the students and their administrators continues to be strained, but Wahoos4UVA hopes to continue to fight for what Ann Brown calls the soul of the university. I'm Conwell Morris, WUVA.